if I remember it right, since November of 1999, I have been initiated into the journey of education. So initially, as a student of masters in physics, I was helping students with physics and their understanding of physics. And eventually, I realized that students lack a lot of clarity in the concepts. So started meeting up schools and talking to principals to figure out if we could help them make this classroom learning a little more enjoyable. See, there are multiple ways in which learning has been looked at in India for quite some time. So at one time, probably learning was to memorize the hymns and then recite them again and again. And over a period of time, you could go sit down, meditate on each one of them and understand what that meant to you and what that meant from the Guru, right? And then we had the learning mechanisms of schools where there were set up where the child could go in, learn a couple of subjects and then become good in maths and English, which would probably fulfill the requirements of the government or some job that they want to take. But ultimately, if you look at it, learning starts the day your brain is developed after your embryonic stage. That means every interaction the fetus has with its surrounding and with itself when it is in the mother's womb, there is a pattern that grows into the brain. There's learning, right? And what, as an educator, I have realized is, apart from learning, also the most important aspect would be to unlearn a lot of things. Because since we come from different cultures, different diversities, right, different ethnicities, we are conditioned in certain ways because of our upbringing. And many a time when you are in a particular situation in life where you need to go global, and you are looking at yourself as a global citizen, there are a lot of things you will need to unlearn, which means learning and unlearning are very, very critical for a child's complete growth. When we say overall development of a child, these two things are very important. As an alternative school, Abik focuses more on student-centric learning. Therefore, most of the curriculum ideas are discussed with the student before they are kind of given to the student to go and explore. So they have been following the IGCSE through certain Cambridge books for them to learn the academic part of it. And the non-academic part typically involves a lot of exploratory journey and inquiry-based learning. So monthly once there is a trip, a field trip that they do to any nearby place or to the locations that actually give them more learning experiences. It could be learning about their history, it could be learning more about a scientific idea, or it could be just exploring learning, how learning has evolved over time by going to certain spaces which are in and around Bangalore, which gives them triggers to think about. So most of the pedagogy is designed around experiential learning. So typically the day starts at 8:30 at Abik, students come in. So we have a half an hour of cooling time, and then at 9 we start around a circle time where each grade, students of each grade sit together and have a conversation with the educators on what's the plan for the day, okay, and what are the things they would want to explore over and above the plan that has already been there. So once they come in, they spend some time with their friends and they spend some time with the educators understanding the day. And then the day begins. So typically we have a 60-40 mix. 40% of the time in the day they do academics, and remaining 60% of the day is focused on skill development. So it could be pottery, it could be gardening, it could be carpentry, or it could be theatre. All those skills that they need to develop is basically done as part of the activity. At Abik, one thing what we don't kind of call things as extracurricular activity. There are no extracurricular activities. Everything that we do at Abik is a curricular activity, including the sports and games, whether it's a native sport and game that we do or the regular cricket and football kinds of things that we do. All of this is part and parcel of the curriculum that the child is learning. Because everywhere the educator has a scope to have a conversation, and most of the time when the students are exploring their learning, they always connect their skill development sessions with their academic sessions. So that encourages a good interdisciplinary learning that happens at Abik. So Abik has been here for the last 10 years, and this is the 10th year. My company, Number Nagar, has multiple learning centers across Bangalore. So one is very close to Abik's location, where the Abik students used to come and do hands-on maths activity at our place. So that is how my interaction with Indira started, and the conversations led to understanding alternative journey and the requirements of the alternative journey. And Indira said, if Nambarnagar could, help collaborate with Abik and, kind of blend both the worlds seamlessly. So that is where my role becomes important. So as an academic consultant for Abik, I focus on the academic practices and all the other activities that are happening at Abik, and trying to give them a structure where the educators understand what is the role of doing a particular activity at Abik. For example, the blending of multiple intelligence. How do we work on multiple intelligence skills of children, and how to connect those multiple intelligence skills through their academics and other skill activities that they are doing. So that is one part of it. So after I have come in, I have tried to work with the educators, and because we follow a very hardcore democratic process, a lot of discussion happens around what are the best practices. And since it's a pedagogical alternate, what happens is that we have scope to bring multiple practices that are happening worldwide into Abik's practices. So one of the best things that happens at Abik is we bring some of the practices that are happening across the globe and see how we can blend it into the learning experience of the child. Okay? And primarily we focus on individual child's requirement when it comes to their learning experience. So learning at Abik, when we say student centric, most of the time the overall plan is done by the educator, and the parents and the educators sit together to decide what are the kind of books that we want to try this year. That's one level. Then we have conversations with students in terms of what are the available concepts that they can explore this year, and what is it that they want to try first, and how many of these concepts they would like to do things, study on their own, and how many of that they would want the educator to have a conversation with. Okay, so most of the time our conversation with the student will be in terms of understanding what is it that they want to learn among the concepts for that year. Okay, so the concepts for that year is something that the educator prepares based on the learning outcome prescribed by the Cambridge, and the conversation starts with the students during the circle time. Okay, so every day also they get to understand that, okay, today if we have a plan of studying a particular concept, and if most of the students feel that no, today we want to do something more and not the regular thing, so there is a scope for the educator to actually leave the plan for the day and then go completely with what the student wants to try for that day. Okay, eventually we have certain weekly goals that we have among educators, that if the student needs to finish some part of their learning according to Cambridge, then we negotiate with the student on what are the topics that are there and how much they would want to finish. So the decision on what and how they want to learn is always with the student. Okay, what are the things they can learn is what the educator brings to the table. Right, so that's something that we've always practiced at Abik, and it has taught the educators a lot in terms of how we have to plan our year, because many a time we have our load, we come from the conventional system and we are trying to learn the alternative journey, but for the student it's the journey, they have already started doing it. So therefore we are actually far more students than the students themselves. So we learn a lot in this journey in terms of how academic planning needs to be done when it comes to alternative journeys. Today, because one, of course, initiated by the COVID situation, all right. The other thing is more and more what I have seen is my peers, right, my friends who are now having their kids who are in the grade 3, grade 4, and they have been in the conventional system, are now looking at can they do something different for their children. So the thought of alternative schooling or homeschooling or unschooling is more today compared to probably 10 years or 15 years ago, right? So, and also at Abik what happens is we don't take more than 8 students per grade. So there is a technical theoretical limit on what you can really take as the number of students. The strength cannot exceed beyond 100, let's say, right? Roughly that is what you can do. But if the demand increases, from what we are seeing is that lot of parents today are thinking of exploring the alternative journey, and once they are convinced that it is giving a lot of value to the child's learning experience and enhancing the interest in learning, I'm sure they will stick to this journey. That's the first part. So at Abik, what we are thinking is we need to look at having micro kind of schooling systems, where in Bangalore, currently we are in South Bangalore. So we have ideas that in the next 2 years, we would want to collaborate with parents and like-minded people who want to be in the alternative journey, so that they can replicate the Abik model, and we can have 3 more schools, one in the north, one in the east, one in the west, things like that. So that could be one effort where we can see how these schools will nurture themselves and how they can grow into a proper alternative school. And once this model is successful, then we can look at what is the ratio between the number of people who are looking at alternative school and the population in a place, and we can decide how many alternative schools should be in a town or in a village, wherever the requirement is very high. So most of the time what we see is that alternative schools are not in the city, they are slightly in the outskirts of the city, but most of the people who take that are all city dwellers. They're not the locals who come into the alternative journey. So we need to work a little there, where we can create awareness even among the local population that they should explore alternative journey, because it helps the student develop a thoughtfulness of their own life and their own careers. It's not just about designing a syllabus, it's about designing a life for themselves, right? And it's important that as educators, we encourage these kind of ideas where students are made the center of the learning system and students drive the learning process. So what happens when the student drives the learning process is, even if there are 10 pandemics, there won't be a problem of online education and child not learning anything. The reason why today in India we had so much of problem with schools trying to cope up with online education others is because students are not self-directed learners. They have been made to depend on the notes given by the teacher. They are being kind of told that if you do it only this way, then only you are successful. These kind of things can be eliminated if we bring the alternative journey as the way of life, which students can explore, and definitely self-directed learning would have made a lot of difference, okay, to the rest of the world. And that comes from me because I have seen the last 2 years at Abik how the learning was never impacted because of the COVID. Students are heading towards that self-directed learning, so it gave us an opportunity to train them also in that manner, give them a mindset saying that, look, we have a situation, how are we going to cope with this, right? So most of the students came up with their own ways in which how they could interact with their friends, with the educators, and how they could fulfill their learning requirements, right? That makes a lot of sense. I think that is where the alternative journey, and having I wouldn't say too many alternative schools, but at least 4 alternative schools in a city would naturally cater to the requirements of the students that are there. Definitely not all of them would be interested to go offline, off the main road and then try to think alternative. So this could probably be one of the solutions that could help students who are looking for an alternative journey.